Retailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, where we navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between. Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Cruise Control Podcast. This is episode number 22. I'm here with Robert Earle of Gtechniq Ltd, which I assume stands for limited. We would probably call it LLC over here, or something like that, kind of similar thing. So Rob has been with Gtechniq for many years. So, and full disclosure, I worked for Gtechniq full-time for a while, and then also worked as a consultant for them. So I'm deeply ingrained in the Gtechniq culture, and consider Rob a personal friend of mine. So this should be interesting. So, hey, Rob, welcome. Thanks for joining me from across the pond, so to speak.
Yep. Good to be here, Kevin. Good to be here. Good to see you.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, one of the questions I always ask is kind of this detailing backstory, that, superhero detailing backstory. I know that you're not a detailer. You're a car guy for sure, but kind of give us your background in terms of like that kind of stuff.
I mean, I had an interest in it from way back. I had a Lotus Elise, and I remember this was really pre-web stores, and this is probably back in 95, 96, something like that. And I remember actually just going, I already had the mindset that you could get better products that was in the stores. I was actually in France at the time. Ended up buying 1 gram Blitz wax. I think it was the first ever product I bought. And it really started from there. And it just, the opportunity arose to kind of build out the European arm of Gtechniq, and kind of moved on from there. And so detail, I mean, right at the start, it was, Gtechniq was 2 employees. And when my detailer was on holiday, it was truly, I remember having to detail a Bentley S1, which was on cellulose paint, which was a lot of fun. Odd.
Yeah. And what is, like, when you guys first started, I know I was kind of skimming some of the material, and you guys started really just with a few products, but you're saying your detailing, was that to do testing of products? What were you guys running? I know now we have like Gtechniq Works and Gtechniq.
I mean, originally, I guess you know the story, Kevin, very well. It was actually, I saw him the other day, Dr. Drew Gill, who started the company in the first place. And it's always good, and I think if I'm sure many of your listeners have kind of come across a guy called Simon Sinek. He did this great talk about, kind of the right questions to ask, and, start with why. And, that's the thing that I think is, a lot of people struggle to come up with that. I mean, the why of Gtechniq was through a dissatisfaction with, at the time, the so-called long-term surface care products. That's what started it, because Drew, who started the business, he had it was a French product that he brought into Southeast Asia, and durability-wise, it wasn't getting anywhere close to marketing claims, and the company the company he was working for didn't have the bandwidth, or not only that, but also just didn't have the desire to do anything better. And that's where Drew, being the kind of guy he was, he got a PhD in quantum physics and applied mathematics. He kind of understood the physics of nano-engineered particles, and understood how a surface should work. And that was really the start of it. And then from that came R&D. And it all started in a lab in Tokyo, actually, a lab that were doing work for BASF and Bayer Material Science. And that's where the first products came on. So when I joined, that was about 99. So when Drew wasn't doing anything in Europe, I was just, at the time, I was looking for something new, always wanted to run my own business. And he wasn't doing anything in Europe. And so I started Gtechniq in Europe. And at the time, we had 3 products. It was C1, a product called C3, which is a Carnauba spray wax, and a polish called P1, which no longer exists. So that was the very start of it. But yeah, Drew had kind of set the business up. It was it was really a business. It was a detailing business that had a product business attached to it. So he had some pretty good customers. He had, for example, one of his customers was the Peninsula Hotel in Hong Kong. It was based in Hong Kong, and they have the world's largest fleet of Rolls Royces. So next time, Kevin, you're going to stay in Hong Kong, if you decide on the Peninsula Hotel, they'll come and collect you in one of their Rolls Royces, which is jolly nice. So that was it. And then, when I started with it, that was the kind of model. But then I kind of quickly realized there really wasn't any other. I think there was products in Japan called glass coating, but ceramic coating there wasn't any really. And then I kind of realized, hey, this is what we've got product wise is pretty special. And so I went about flipping the business from a service centric to a product centric business, and that's then kind of working with detailers. I think Kelly Harris at KDS was in the UK was pretty much one of the first ones. I call him Jesus. He's our Jesus character. And it built out from there. And that's really, it's just been a story of persistence and innovation from that point forward.
And did you have a product base? Whereas I kind of read a little bit, but I didn't really understand the company you mainly worked with before. Were you kind of a product focused, service focused business
not at all.
before?
Nothing to do with that at all. We were a logistics company that specialized in warzones. So we had contracts. Yeah, we worked. So it was an Italian business. And we had contracts to feed the UN we had the contract to feed all the soldiers, UN peacekeepers in former Yugoslavia. It was 25,000 strong there. We had Liberia, Sierra Leone, Eritrea, East Timor, and then we started obviously with Afghanistan and Iraq. I went and I was kind of involved with setting up sites. So I set up a lot in Afghanistan, but then when it came to Iraq, I kind of drew the line because, the insurgents were targeting the logisticians, and I decided, even with the danger money, it's not really it wasn't something I was willing to do. So, at the time, I was then looking, hey, I don't want to carry on with this, and that's when Gtechniq came along.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, almost any business is logistically based. So that's for sure. So you guys are in talking about 1999. I think the official is you guys list as 2001. You guys are in a unique position, right?
When Drew first started developing product, and the company name came. He had a company called the Gtechniq Group. And Gtechniq came from Gloss Technic, so that was the origins of the name. And then, I don't think he didn't set the company up till 2001 when there was a legitimate product ready to go.
And that puts you guys in a unique position, right? 22 years, 24 years of actual product testing, and I know C1 still exists. C3
it has been, there has been a revision or two there, but it still exists. I'd say it's kind of funny. We're the dynamic has changed. We were and still are in some extent the disruptor. And I think the incumbent players certainly Drew, the company that Drew worked with previously, ceramic was a completely new thing. Everything was on PTFE or Teflon, what is it, DuPont brand. Ceramic is now pretty much it's mainstream. I mean, I'm not saying wax is dead or wax is dead, whatever, but it's it is what we're delivering, and this is the focus. And I think this is a maxim. I was kind of think of a maxim of kind of truths for everything, it's really simple. It's do the right thing and always center on the customer. If you're delighting the customer, you're onto a good thing. And if you're doing the right thing, you're onto a good thing. There's no, you're not hiding anything. Sorry, I've lost my train there, but sorry, on the disruptors. So we disrupted a lot of that and still are. I mean, we're doing on the car dealerships. So now in the UK, I think we're at over 200 car dealerships, and the incumbents, this is on paint protection when you buy a vehicle. Yeah, they're struggling to understand what we do, how we do the products and all that kind of thing. They're now responding. But now I would say the dynamic of us being, probably pretty much the longest ceramic coating company in the business, we're now the ones that everybody that now trying to disrupt us. So that dynamic has kind of changed there. So that brings a whole kind of different psychology and focus to play.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys were basically trying to create a market that didn't necessarily exist at the time. I mean, was there a particular process that you had? And I do want to talk about the dealership side of things, but was there a particular process or plan or strategy that you employed in order to? Because you're telling a customer like they need this and they don't even know what that is.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Actually, I just had a meeting today with another group. But it's, I think probably others would agree with this, that in business, you can understand people who are there, who are kind of playing the same game as you, that they've got to make a product, do a service, turn a profit, and hopefully grow, and then just grow organically like that. Bizarrely, I always find it weird, and this group that I'm talking about now, that when you get individuals or groups that have an absolute fortune behind them, and you just can't really understand, is your motivation to make money here, or is this a prestige thing, or is this just about an ego? That's always weird. So from our point of view, from my point of view, I had a bit of money saved, but ultimately it was, and I think with everything, it's a trial and error thing. It's that's how evolution happens, survival of the fittest, and that's the same in business. You throw things out there, some work, some don't, but you've got to respond real quick to it and kind of focus on the ones that are working. So and that was my pivot right at the start, was to realize, running a franchise business where we're doing a lot of service, that's a ball breaker, and I always think that the detailing business is very difficult to franchise. I mean, if you're Subway, if you're McDonald's, what happens there is, somebody will go, okay, great, we want to have a new Subway, let's say in Oklahoma City or whatever. And then you buy that Subway for whatever it is, 150, 200,000, whatever the franchise costs. Day one, you have a line of people ready to come to that business. Detailing doesn't really work like that. A bit, but it's a lot tougher. So I immediately thought that's going to be pretty tough. And then you got all the issue about quality control and about making sure the staff are doing it. So I kind of quickly realized this wasn't really a way to grow. It's much better. The people are out there. The detailers are already out there. There's some great people out there. I mean, we had the likes of Paul Dalton, Miracle Detail, KDS, Kelly Harris. You had guys like that. And I thought, okay, these people are out there. Let's try and work with those guys and get them on to,
This episode is brought to you by Detailer's Roadmap. Hey, spoiler alert, that's us. We all know you need a kick-ass website in order to be successful with your business. The good news is, at Detailer's Roadmap, kick-ass websites, that's kind of what we do. With the latest performance, designs, and SEO strategies, Detailer's Roadmap is your one-stop shop to be successful on the web. And don't forget, we have the best support team in the industry. Whether you're an existing partner looking to improve your lead generation or you need a brand new website, Detailer's Roadmap is here to help you be successful on the web. So go to detailersroadmap.com/success and get started today. That's detailersroadmap.com/SUCCESS.
Kelly, I remember that meeting very well. I tried to go down to Kelly Harris and show him how to polish a car, which he'll still laugh about now. That was kind of hilarious. But anyway, that aside, I then realized that the way forward was to work with detailers and help build their business. And with that, I always looked at it and went, look, it's really important that those guys are successful. If you cannot have a positive impact to the detailer's bottom line, yeah, you might last a year, but ultimately you're going to be gone. And that's always been my focus on that. But then I also look kind of realistically, how many vehicles are detailers really touching? It's 1% of the 1%. It's not a massive volume of vehicles. And sorry, I'm going down rabbit holes, but the focus with that, and I don't want to give too much away here, but a few things there. One of them was, that disconnect, and I'll take a bit of credit here. But, I remember, probably 10, 15 years ago when I was, I obviously kind of keep a very close eye on any mentions of Gtechniq on forums. So every day I'm looking at things like that. And I remember like 10, 15 years ago, you'd have people on forums going, so it was a Porsche Macan or a Porsche Panamera, whatever it was. They would, there'd be somebody on there and they put their head above the parapet. Oh yeah, just taken delivery of a new Panamera. I had it detailed by this guy, and they put Gtechniq coatings on it, and it cost at the time would have been £800, probably. It would have been like $1,200, something like that. And then invariably, the next person on that forum would go, "Oh, you absolute wanger." Sorry, I don't know what the American expression is. I've got a guy down the road who'll do the same thing for 300. And yeah, that was the predominant thing. And I was looking at it going, yeah, that's horse crap. Because, and I remember back in the early days on Detailing World, you'd have people going on there super proud, going, yeah, I've done this guy's 911 and it's taken me 150 man hours to get it at, and it looks the nut. I was going, wow, that's great. And he goes, yeah, and I've only charged £300. And I'm looking at that going, you're an idiot. What are you doing? Go and work at McDonald's if that's the hourly rate you want to get. What is the point? So I saw that as a problem. And then, as you know, I built the pricing tool. So that was, again, I just looked at it and went, look, the general public do not understand how much effort, how many man hours going into doing a car right. And so I then developed this whole kind of pricing tool where, I asked, I think probably at the time we had about 20 detailers. I gave them 3 cars. I'd say, okay, give me the time and the price that you would charge. Let's say it's a new Golf GTI, brand new, off, straight from the dealership. You do a single stage correction, and then put all the coatings on, glass, wheels, the whole thing. And then another one was, I think it was a 5 Series, a black 5 Series. Many people know these are the types of cars that if you get an M5, 5-year-old M5 that's been washed very badly, and the owner wants it, I want this car like a new M5. Give me the hours on that. Give me a price. So I took all this information, brought it all back in, averaged out the times, and that was roughly, I kept the average there, took the prices, averaged it out, add 15%. And that was the basis of our pricing tool. So it was to reflect the what the industry was telling us. We're not telling the industry, I'm not in that business. I'm not going to tell you what you should charge. You tell us what is right, and we will communicate to the customer The customer then can select whatever car they have, how much correction is required, what they want. The system will then spit out a quote on price and on time. And most people, most sensible people, if you're getting a trained, qualified electrician or a qualified plumber into your house, roughly the hourly rate that, you're not going to want some guy who's going to charge half what is normal. You want to be paying somebody who's skilled. So that was the basis that I put everything on. Sorry, I'm going down a massive rabbit hole here. But that I think that changed the narrative with the customer. So now when you look at reviews on, let's say on Porsche groups or Mercedes groups, whatever it may be, you will see people going, oh, okay, yeah, I have the same service done by a different guy or the same guy. It's great. It's kind of changed that whole narrative. So that, I think, I would say we were kind of part of that process, but I think the industry as a whole has kind of got to that point now where it's better understood, better established.
Yeah,
so that was that.
Yeah. I was just going to say, one of the things that we do at Details Roadmap when we build websites is we highly recommend putting starting at prices because of kind of that idea that you're talking about with the pricing tool. And so, what that allows us to do when you're selling products, we have this thing called minimum advertised price, right? So that kind of sets the baseline for the customer and for the person delivering the service on what your pricing looks like. And this is I'm just trying to delve in a little bit on the pricing tool. That this is essentially what you're doing with the detailing world is setting, because you don't want a guy down the street selling CSU, right?
Wrong word. We're not setting, we're reflecting.
Right. That's what I mean.
We're going, what do you guys charge? Here it is. And actually, we're probably due a bit of an update on that. We haven't updated that for probably about a year, so that probably needs a bit of looking at.
Probably more educating the consumer that this is about what this service would cost.
Yeah,
that way
and
they don't go to 10 guys and have a different price.
Give them, I think a lot to a lot of consumers new to the detailing market, they haven't got a clue the hours that go into it. And if they look, oh, well, that's like 50 hours to do the car. Holy shit! I thought it was just a couple of hour job. So I think that's an important thing for the consumer to understand.
And that professional down way of introducing the product and really giving that credibility, that's something that now is kind of like the standard. But I think you guys pretty much started that because because I was responsible for the accredited detailing network in the US, kind of trying to help develop that a little bit more and systematize it and things like that. But I know that that's a model that wasn't necessarily in place. Is that somewhere, that was your idea, right? Is to go in and do that so that consumers see their detailers doing it, and then that adds credibility.
Yeah, to try and normalize it. Exactly. But it's interesting. I mean, kind of seeing the detailing industry, I think it's the same both sides of the pond. I think it has progressed now from a artisan, where you got a sole trader who's fantastic at detailing, but maybe not so good at customer facing, at upselling, at all those kind of working with kind of dealerships and that kind of thing. To now, we've got a couple of examples both sides of the pond where you now got a much more business minded person there who is happy to go and talk with F&I directors or F&I managers with dealerships and have those kind of very kind of grown up chats with them, and to have things like service level agreements, all those kind of things that are necessary in a more kind of in a bigger kind of, I wouldn't say corporate, but getting onto corporate things. So, and I think that the industry has changed from that. It's now, I think detailing has become a much more legitimate mainstream thing. And, what you're doing and what others are doing in terms of making that into a much more professional, putting a roadmap there, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, because we talk about basically there's a difference between the detailer and a business owner that happens to be in the detailing
Sure.
space. You
Yeah.
can almost take that same business person and put them into almost any
Yeah.
service-based industry and have a great result.
Yeah. No, sure. I mean, just one example that we've got. Um, it's got a funny name. It's called Muffwash. The guy's called Daniel Muff. Genuinely, super guy. But he's a case in point. Like over 10 years ago, he loved detailing and he was a weekend warrior. He used to do his friends and family's cars. But he looked at it and went, yeah, I can't really make this into a business. He then left and, well, he didn't leave. He then went into real estate. So he was a estate agent or realtor. And then, yeah, kind of 8 years later, went, holy crap, this is I can make a business out of that. Left his job and then he started up it's up in Manchester in the UK. He's serving, I think, 4 dealerships now. So he's Gtechniq accredited and he's working with, I think it's a Ferrari, Aston Martin, I think a Jaguar site, maybe a Mercedes site. And he's absolutely killing it. And that's, that for somebody like that, that's the opportunity to win that. And I think he's employing maybe 20 people now.
Wow.
So, those are the kind of opportunities I think that are on the table currently.
And without giving away too much, proprietary information, but I'm interested in, because a lot of people in the US especially, and I don't, and you can speak to the difference between the UK and the US on this, but dealership detailing tends to be like the lowest of the low,
Sure.
kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
how are you trying to educate that? And you've got
I
different
don't want to
programs,
give too
obviously.
much away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different customer. So the customer that comes into a detailer, they're coming to the detailer because they want the detail done. They know what they're talking about. They've come specifically, to Kevin or to, Dan or wherever it is, because they know by reputation that person's going to do a great job. The coating is important. The durability of the results are important, and that's they should come to a detailer one, of course. But that's a very different customer to the one that's gone in to buy let's say, a new Mercedes, for example. They, they haven't come in to buy a detail. They've come in to buy a car. They're then being sold, oh, yeah, on this car, would you like it, staying like new for years to come and blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. They don't know what they're looking at.
Mhm.
Um, we're over delivering on that, I would say. But yeah, it's a different thing, really. It's a different thing. But actually, we find a lot of those customers. We have a big stand at if anybody ever gets a chance to go to the Goodwood Festival of Speed, it's an incredible event. It was in July. I can't remember what it was this year. And it's a massive, I think 250,000 people go to this event. So
Wow.
there's a hill climb, but it's the UK auto show, and like Lotus have a stand there, Porsche have a stand there. It's an incredible event. And it's very much the demographic of it's all the petrol heads in the country. They all go there. But what's interesting there is that we have a stand, we have a very big stand there. And we get those kind of customers who've been sold at the dealership and they come in and they go, wow, yeah, the performance is amazing. A lot of those then will be going, okay, and we've looked further into it and we see that you have these detailers, and then so that kind of feeds in there. So I think I think, Kevin, I'm sure you think the same on this. A lot of the times when people say, oh, that's impossible, it can't be done, or stuff like that, you're onto a good thing. And I
Yeah.
remember when we started on the dealership side of things, I remember it was actually James Batty, Auto Finesse, he used to be one of our accredited detailers way, way back. He went, oh, that's never going to work. Oh, they're all shit. They don't do stuff right, and it's all it's on a slapdash, and it's going to kill your brand. Um, we went into it, and yes, there is you've got to then also understand the constraints of each business. So let's say it's Porsche Silverstone just down the road from us here. They may have on a Saturday, they may have 10 cars to hand over on a Saturday. Is the opportunity there to do a 2-day detail on each one? Cool. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But what you can do, and this is what we do, is you can do a single stage, because the paint's never perfect when it comes from factory. It's had damage during transport, etc. And then the system we use, it's not to the level of what we have, Ultra and Exo, but it's not far off it. But it fits that window to be applied. Is it to the same level that you get from a detailer? No, it's not. But it's not far off. It's, I'd say, 85%. And I think for the majority of customers, they'll look at that and go, if you have a customer who's been buying Porsches at that dealership, let's say he's changing his car every 3 years, for him to turn around and go, holy crap, this car looks so much better than my last one. People will know, detailers out there, if they're honest, will know to get to that point isn't, you're not doing the 100%, but that customer, he won't know. He'll go, my God, it looks fantastic. And then the car will stay looking like that for a very long time. So to delight that customer at that point, that works. And that, the dealerships, it's a bit of a mixed bag. We have key account managers who are going around dealerships all the time. They do the training. They go in to make sure the staff are still the same. The standards, because dealerships, one of their biggest metrics or KPIs was CSI, which is Customer Satisfaction Index. We add massively to CSI because the car's looking great. It is a long process to get a dealership that is using 0 hours contract labor that are rotating, every month pretty much, to get them to the standard that we want them to be. Takes a long time, but dealerships know it. Dealerships they've woken up, they know about detailing, and they know, a lot of the feedback we get off dealers, oh yeah, we can't possibly do that here. We're like, well, hang on a minute, we can get there, and that's quite a long journey to do. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fundamental change, though, because, at least here in the U.S., if you're my age or our age, ish, then you remember the 70s and 80s, the undercarriage sprays here in the U.S.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
If they actually even put anything on. So
sure.
you get the F&I guys in there, and all they're wanting to do is jack up the upsell on the paperwork, roll it into financing and all that. So this is a fundamental change, and we talk a lot about lifetime customer value. And so that CSI, that customer service index, is a predominant way to increase that, right? So you guys, I mean, you're really changing the detailing, the industry in and of itself.
We are, and I think, I know I'll probably switch off now. I have an electric car, I have a Taycan, and it doesn't need servicing, really. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need servicing. The service I went into, what do? They change the air filter. I mean, the cabin filter. There's nothing else to do. It doesn't need, it's got regen braking, so it doesn't need brake pads, doesn't need brake discs. It's a very, very kind of low maintenance vehicle. And that's the way the market's going to go. So, you look at the investment that dealers are putting in, a Porsche dealership here, it's going to cost you £10 million. You've got to have every single square foot of that dealership earning you money. And that's where I think there's the opportunity. I think the dealerships are now going, they're seeing this coming down the road. It's like, normally we got a car in having a, let's say a cam belt change or a whatever it might be. That's all going to go. So they've now got to go, oh shit, how are we going to make every square foot earn some money? So I think there is a big opportunity there. There's still, I would say, majority of dealerships are still kind of thinking the way that you described. But I think there are a lot of people going, oh, okay, yeah, we need to deliver, and this is the thing: do the right thing. If you deliver the right thing to the customer, there it's all going to work. And that's, we've done this. A lot of dealerships in the UK where they're making a ton of cash out of it because they're doing it right. So yeah, I think there is a big opportunity there.
Yeah, that's something that's actually a really interesting point and something that I hadn't really thought too much about. But if you're not aware of how dealers work, they make some money on the front end, but really the margins on an actual car sale for most
Oh yeah,
cars are not.
peanuts. Yeah,
They're very low. So the money comes in when you go get your oil changed at the dealership and it costs
yeah,
$190 or $200.
yeah,
That's where they're making the money. So if
yeah,
you take that out of the equation by more,
yeah,
fully electric or hybrid electric or any of those
yeah,
things, then you're gonna, that takes that out of there.
yeah. And right or wrong, the customer trusts the dealership,
Hmm.
and it's convenient, and I think from a point of view of, oh, okay, so let's say it's you have an Aston Martin. If you're then dropping that off at the dealership for a service, for them to say, oh, would you like the car brought back to as new condition to have, Gtechniq applied? It's going to be another 4 days. It's your second car. You don't care. It's fine. And you don't have to then, oh, I've got to take that car away and then book it into a detailer. It just makes that process super convenient for the customer. And I think that's, one must always stay customer centric with all of this.
Yeah, and it's at first glance you may think, well, this is in opposition of the detailing industry, but essentially what you're doing, especially from a coding and protection
Yeah, but I
standpoint,
mean,
you're educating the customer, right?
yeah, but
As
it's
this
not.
is something that's good.
Let's not think about it opposition. It's think of the customer. Well,
Hmm.
the customer, if that's more convenient for the customer, they're going to go there every time.
Yeah.
They're going to go there every time because, and again, I think on the detailing industry, think about it, it's the 1% of the 1%. There's so much opportunity out there.
Yeah.
And I think, we get some pushback from some detailers saying, oh, well, that would have been my customer. No, it wouldn't. It really wouldn't have been your customer. We're touching the ones that are just wouldn't have gone near a detailer.
Hmm.
And therein lies an opportunity. And I think we see it in the States, we see it in the UK of detailers that go, okay, if you understand what the constraints are from a dealership are on what they're looking for, there's a shit ton of opportunity there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, we have some of those relationships building nicely in the US. We got some a lot in the UK. We have in other territories globally that we're doing that kind of thing. And I think that to me is the kind of progression forwards of the detailing industry.
Yeah, and that same customer that they always go to the dealer, but if they're
Yeah,
running in that same circle where people have Astons and BMWs and Mercedes and all that, they have friends that don't go to the dealer. So
yeah,
then they can talk about, that friend asks someone, asks that customer, well, what is on your car? And they can
yeah,
say, this is a Gtechniq protection package, and then maybe they
yeah,
then reach out to an actual
yeah.
detailer instead. So they're not. The point I was trying to make is that it's not in opposition. It's
No,
actually
it's not a,
should support it.
it's not cannibalizing customers. It really isn't. And and I think it's been an interesting, and obviously, the UK, we've got things, the most developed in terms of Gtechniq anywhere. But it's been an interesting journey taking some of the detailers. I mean, there's some guys there. I mean, there's one I literally fell off my chair when I heard he was going into a dealership because he was like, no, 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 dealerships, I don't know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, our key account manager spent some time with this guy. And guess what? He's now employed another guy and he's working with the dealer. He's like, holy crap, why didn't I do this 5 years ago? He's suddenly got, his customer base has just grown by 100%. So yeah, I think there is a lot in that. Yeah, kind of. It's just, yeah, you're right. It's an understanding thing. Understand the constraints a dealership are about. A lot of it is space, time, personnel, things like that. Detailers have there's a welcome addition there, and they will always have there's always going to be those one or two customers that are never satisfied. I mean, tends to be
Yeah,
poor
we love
customers.
those.
Tends to be poor customers, and yeah, the dealer at the end of it's going, I don't know how to deal with this guy anymore. And then suddenly, if they got a detail, hey, do their car for them, make it right, then suddenly they're like, hallelujah, this is beautiful.
And of course, that dealer makes sure to tell the detailer that this is the best customer ever. You're going to love this guy.
No, of course. Yeah, but there has to be, I think, on that side, there has to be an understanding both ways. And I think, the detailer has got to understand they can't charge customer prices to the dealer, but they've also got to understand they've done nothing to get that customer. That customer's just been, here you go, there it is. You've done no prospecting, you've done no marketing, you've done nothing. There's a customer. So there has to be a realistic price, a trade price that they do for the dealer, so that, for them it's not painful, and maybe, they can make a margin on top of that as well.
Yeah, there's no customer acquisition cost for the detailer, and it's in volume and that for sure. I'm curious, and I think other people would be curious too, and you and I have probably had this discussion. I'm curious about the differences between the industries in some of the countries, because you guys are global. You're in 50 different countries. What does that look like internationally? Especially most of your between the UK and the US, but I know you guys are in the Middle East, you're in Dubai, you're in what does the industry look like as a whole worldwide, and kind of I'm interested in the differences.
I'd say US and UK are similar. I think, some markets, I mean, I've just come back from China, where we're hoping to grow there quite. I mean, they're a fair way behind in terms of detailing. It's not really a thing there. Australia, a very strong market for us. They had a lot of. We started really actually at dealership level, but then that's really grown. The detailing industry there has grown massively. You've got, each country's a bit different. I always thought, France is a big market for us. Always thought that was. If anybody's been to Paris and seen how they park there, it's basically you park by thrill. You think, nobody cares about their cars, everybody driving. But actually, that's a really good market. There's a strong detailing market there. Poland's got everything. They're a very sophisticated market. Germany, we're getting into. I mean, it's a bit varied everywhere, really. But I think kind of on the whole, I think due to the internet, due to people seeing what everybody else is doing, you see some of the quality of some of the detailing studios globally, they look great. And then some markets, let's say Southeast Asia, like Korea, we have probably about 200 detailing shops there. You've got a different constraint, because you've got, let's say, I would say over 90% of population in Korea live in apartment buildings, so they don't have a driveway to do their car on. So it's all city center detail shops. So there's a lot of that. Same in Japan, similar kind of thing there. It's just each country is a little different.
And did that present? As you go in, how do you educate yourself to understand the market? Is that just market research? You have local people that kind of help you educate?
We're normally working with local either distributors or whatever. So they kind of know their market. I'd say predominantly most of them we're working with detailers. On the dealership side, it's kind of, we have some in Scandinavia, some in Australia, some in Poland, some in France. But by and large, it's mainly, Gtechniq as a brand. We're known for the high-end ceramic coatings. We're trying to push more into the maintenance line. I mean, that's an area that we're trying to push hard on. And then obviously things like Amazon is big for us on that. So it's a bit different. And then obviously we got the bike line, so that's started just over a year ago. So that's starting to make some progress, and marine as well. Jay, he's doing well with that. That's a market I'm pretty interested in. Again, looking at the marine market, they're way behind the automotive market in terms of product, process, all those kind of things. And in fact, a lot of boat owners look to car care products because they know that they are of better quality. But again, we're looking to, and we're starting to make some progress on this, on having, a dealer applied product to, if you go to buy a new, doesn't matter if it's a jet ski or a 100-foot sport fishing boat, that there's an option then to have it coated by the dealer.
This episode is brought to you by Detailer's Roadmap. Hey, spoiler alert, that's us. We all know you need a kick-ass website in order to be successful with your business. The good news is, at Detailer's Roadmap, kick-ass websites, that's kind of what we do. With the latest performance, designs, and SEO strategies, Detailer's Roadmap is your one-stop shop to be successful on the web. And don't forget, we have the best support team in the industry. Whether you're an existing partner looking to improve your lead generation or you need a brand new website, Detailer's Roadmap is here to help you be successful on the web. So go to detailersroadmap.com/success and get started today. That's detailersroadmap.com/SUCCESS. Yeah, the marine market's interesting, and I know, especially being a little bit, part of that conversation originally, I know it was like, well, here in the U.S. we have, bay liners and ski boats and jet boats, and then and when you're in France and you've got these massive yachts. But the coding side of that's really interesting to me, because I know that they kind of polish and have been polishing and redoing these boats once every year to 2 years.
That kind of thing. And then people kind of know it a bit, but gel coat's not very thick. Keep doing that year and year and year, you'll have a very porous gel coat, which is not great. But I think it's interesting actually. What's the big one? Not West Marine. Starbright. They've just launched a ceramic kind of spray. So I think the word ceramic is starting to get into the marine side of things. But yeah, by and large, if you look at the standard products they're decades old. So it'll be interesting. That's going to be an interesting journey with those guys. Yeah, and kind of educating the detailing industry too, because typically it's two sides of the same code. That's what we're doing. And for your listeners out there, anybody doing with boats, get in touch with Jay. I know he's contacting a lot of detailers now and kind of starting to build that network on the marine. But it's good. I wouldn't like to be polishing a boat in Georgia right now or Florida.
Right. Yeah. Those guys are kind of a special breed. Parker Richards out in Colorado, and the guys that are really good at marine detailing they're their own kind of breed.
It's not a lot of fun polishing. I've done it myself. We did some demos with Sunseeker, and right early when it was, I think we were a company of 3 and polishing a 60-foot, whatever it was. Holy crap. This is hard work.
Yeah, if you've never done a boat, you kind of want to do one boat, and that's about, for most people, that's about the extent of it. I know you guys have some new stuff coming. You guys are constantly innovating, reinventing.
Yeah. So if you haven't tried XOV5, try it. In fact, we're going to be doing another. The feedback we're getting off that is night and day improvement over XOV4. Which already was brilliant. We've got a bunch of new stuff coming out. There's always, I think, time now. We've got new snow foam. I think we just released a new panel white. We've got Halo V2 is due to come out fairly soon. There's a few other things, and then we're also doing a lot of work on. I've got it on my list here. I call them the Google search term products. That people put things in their products and people on Google look at graphene, detonated diamonds, and think, oh my God, my vehicle's going to be coated in this stuff. That's not true. It's
It's
just
not
not true.
it's not magic sauce. Is that what you're saying?
No. So that's the whole thing. We've done. And again, do the right thing. And we do, by doing the right thing. In fact, this is a long process with us. It's not just us throwing on a car and just hoping for the best. We've got some really strong ties now with a couple of university material science departments. We've been over 2 years now on one of those additives, which we're very close to releasing some data on. And then there's also, one of the things, and this is the bit where it comes to, we're now the one that everybody wants to disrupt. And I think there is a misunderstanding within the industry. If it says ceramic and it's a coating, it's going to be about the same. It really isn't. It really isn't. And that's the bit where, that's down to us to educate and show. So we've now, I call it the Lee Kennedy protocol. So Lee Kennedy's our head chemist. And we devised a way to get very, very accurate weathering tests in a lab that will match real world. Because at the moment, up till now, and this is our secret sauce slightly here, there isn't, what looks good on a scrub cycle or a UV chamber or a salt fogging machine, whatever it is in a lab, you stick it on a car, 3 months later you go, holy shit, this stuff sucks, or the one that's rubbish there, it works really great. So that correlation's always been poor. And we now have this protocol where it's very, very, very accurate to what is real world. So we're doing a lot of work on that. I'm calling it the sausage factory. So we basically have a whole load of variations, a whole load of competitors' product that comes in one end, and then we get results out the other end. And it's, I don't want to say anything now, but there's not. It's in terms of what we're doing, we're really happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I was always super impressed, even, is the science and the testing and the knowledge base of Gtechniq's products versus being a marketing company that just pushes out whatever.
I've made a mistake in the past. I was XOV2. We didn't really understand about the basically you'd have water spots on there that would etch the coating.
Mm-hmm.
And that bit me in the arse. And I never want to go there again. And that's I've hold true to that. XOV5 was over 2 years of product development on that. So when we release updates, we're not just going, it's not a month's worth of R&D or a month's worth of testing. It's an absolute truckload, because we're now we cannot afford to drop a ball like that. And there are we've got a lot of improvements coming through with a lot of products, but it's not, we're not doing things by halves. It's got to work. It really does. So.
Yeah, because that's, you're not just throwing a new label on with a different number. It's, these are actually.
Yeah, and I think, and again, this is a natural thing. I see the amount of detailers I see, it's not about the product, it's blah, 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 blah. Then suddenly, oh, here we are. I've got a product. Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? And then, oh, yeah, we've done loads of R&D and testing. Like, no, you haven't. You really haven't. But that's it's an easy thing to say, and that's the bit. Look, I can throw stones here, but it's a process that we're going through now. But there is a lot that we've done on that. It's I think a trust thing. Yeah, do the right thing, the trust, and that bit. I am very appreciative of our customer base, and I'm not going to let them down with half-assed products and half-assed product releases and things like that. So that is critical, and we just need to get that message out a bit more. We're not, I think the industry slightly looks for the new. Oh my God, these guys have got coordinated diamonds. Oh, they've got this or it's got that. Everybody's looking for the silver bullets, and people that have got a bit of length in their tooth, like you and I, there is silver bullets. They don't exist.
Right.
It's an evolution, doing the right thing, making gradual improvements. That's how things evolve. It's not, things don't, well, rarely, they do occasionally, but it's rarely things arrive left field and suddenly everything else that's happened before is redundant. So anyway, sorry, I'm banging on.
No, I think that's, I know that your marketing department probably gets pissy with you because you're like, no, I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite there yet.
They
just, it's like, we just want the product. And
mainly,
but I mean, that speaks to your commitment to put out good stuff versus good enough stuff. So that's something that's really interesting. But I totally appreciate your time. Thank you so much. This is super interesting to me, especially, and and I probably have greater than your average bear knowledge of the back end of Gtechniq. Sure, but it's always super interesting. You're always super entertaining, and I do want to point out, you said you started with a Lotus Elise, and I don't know. I thought those were small cars. Rob is not a small man, so it's probably good that the cell phone cameras didn't exist and constant showing you getting in and out of that car. I'm sure that was
it was the south of France, so I never had the roof on. I just jumped in it. My now wife said it was like watching somebody putting a shoe on.
That's hilarious. All right, Rob. Well, I appreciate your time, buddy.
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Yep, have a good day.
Head over to detailersroadmap.com and get your one-stop success solution today.